The 7th of July 2014, 10:06 a.m. GMT. The whole world witnessed something impossible. Something no one could explain. Overnight, numbers bloomed on our skin. Everyone had one. Somewhere, somehow. No one knew what the numbers meant. Curiosity curdled into fear, and fear spread like rot. I remember the moment I saw mine. It felt like the ground tilted and never tilted back. I was ordinary, forgettable, no one special. But my number fell into the half that sat above the rest. High. Too high. In those first days, we stumbled in the dark. We argued. We guessed. Then the truth slithered out. Small numbers belong to the important. To the powerful and the rich. Big numbers marked the rest of us. The lower castes. The expendable. The world twisted. Not for the better. The split between the low-numbered and the high-numbered grew vicious. Billionaires, tycoons, politicians. If their numbers were too high, they fell overnight. Banks folded. Cabinets collapsed. Families burned from the inside. Life turned into a survival game. Numbers decided everything. Killers became predators. Their prey were the low-numbered, hunted for sport and for status. A phenomenon people called renumbering appeared. When a person died, their number vanished. It reappeared on a newborn somewhere in the world. But if someone killed someone, the killer took the victim's number. That rule poisoned everything. People butchered each other just to trade up for a lower digit. Scientists tried to erase the marks. Governments tried to mask them. Everyone tried something. Everyone failed. Amputations, acid, laser, fire. The numbers never left. They sat in the flesh and watched us panic. But the strangest thing was the number 1. Every child born since the numbering began was checked. Not once had anyone seen the number 1. Legends sprouted. Some said number 1 was a god, a blessing. Others called it a curse. Chaos begat a cult. They called themselves the Brotherhood of I. They worshipped one like a deity. They said the bearer of number 1 would save us. Or end us. They searched for one without mercy, either to protect it or to kill it. And then one appeared. A baby girl. Sophia, my sister's child. The night Sophia was born, the Brotherhood came. They secured the house, locked it down for 2 months. They said it was protection. It felt like a prison. Eyes in every window, boots in every room. I knew word would leak. No matter how careful we were. News seeps through walls. I told my sister we had to move. She could barely stand, but she begged me. Take Sophia, she whispered. Hide her. I listened. I ran with my niece while she was only 2.5 months old, slipped out from under the Brotherhood's shadow, and into the jaws of other hunters. We hid in the sparse backcountry of Oregon. Every day was survival. Avoid the predators. Find food, find water, keep the baby warm. I tried. I truly did, but exhaustion burrowed into my bones. Body and mind, the kind that doesn't sleep and doesn't stop. I made a choice I'll never forgive. Could not live like this. I could not keep a child I believed to be a curse. I did not want her number. I did not want to become one. I left Sophia in the woods. Alone. 2.5 months old. Too small to even sit up. I told myself an animal might take her in. That fate would be kinder than I could be. That whatever happened would not be my fault. Hope is a liar. Days later, one blossomed on my arm. Black as ash, bright as a brand. That is how I became one. I know what I did. There is no going back. One is not just a number. It is a curse, a destiny no one escapes. I have to live with it. I have to find a way to survive in a world that wants me dead. And I will face the predators who want my 1. Because once the number burned into my skin, I learned the first law. Curses do not let go. They tighten. They wait. They collect. After 1 appeared on my arm, panic became my shadow. Every footstep was careful. Every sound snapped my nerves. They were looking for me. I hid in the dark and barely breathed. The false calm did not last. One night, in my splintered cabin, I heard soft footsteps outside. Danger. Breathing at the door, I held my breath. Moonlight cut a thin blade across the floor. A silhouette stood beyond the frame. I could not hide forever. I opened the door and stepped into the cold. The forest bit my skin, and the night bit back. 3 men. Weighted black coats, masks. No faces predators. One stepped forward. You're one, aren't you? I didn't answer. I nodded. He smiled with half his mouth. Long knife slid from his coat. Steel winked under the moon. It made my bones ring. You know the rules, he said. Number 1 belongs to the strong. You don't deserve it. He lunged. I dodged, but the blade scraped my shoulder. Hot pain. Deep and wet. Blood soaked my shirt, but I didn't stop moving. If I didn't fight, I would die here. I backed away, trying to keep distance. They gave me none. The other 2 rushed in. They wanted my number. They didn't care who I was, only what I carried. The fight was savage. Pain bloomed in bright flowers along my arms and legs. I didn't quit. If I died, my one would pass to my killer. I couldn't let that happen. A mistake opened like a door. I ripped the knife from one man's hand. I drove the blade into the nearest throat. Blood fountained. He folded with a gargled scream. I didn't stop. I slashed and shoved and bit. The night filled with terror and iron. In minutes, the ground wore a dark shine. Then it was quiet. The predators lay broken. I stood over them, panting, the taste of iron on my tongue. The world spinning. I had killed Tekepa. Number. There was no joy in it. Only nausea. Only dread. I looked at my hand. One still burned there. Bright as a wound. A burden no one wants. A torch that draws moths with knives. This was only the beginning. They would keep coming. I had to keep moving. Packed what I could. I took the predators. Knife. It had saved me. It would have to save me again. Before I left, I burned the cabin. No trace. No trail. No past. The flames ate the wood and the bodies and the little life I had. I walked into the dark and did not look back. Wandered for days. Every step came with fear. But fear is still better than a grave. I needed shelter. More than that, I needed answers. The rules. The numbering. The horror of number 1. I wanted to understand the curse that owned me. The road turned me into a ghost. I slept in ruins. I ate what I could steal. Running would not save me forever. I needed to face the thing that started this. The Brotherhood. I listened. I paid. I kept my head down. In a small dim bar, I met a man named Marcus. He smelled like secrets. He knew things. He knew the Brotherhood. He said they were older than anyone admitted. He said they thought one was the face of a Goda blessing. A key. They worshipped one. Some believed the bearer would rule. Others believed the bearer must die so the world could be saved. Marcus spoke of their rituals. The sacrifices. Blood poured into bowls carved with symbols. Bodies taken apart like puzzles and offered to a number. The way he described it made my skin prickle. One was not just a digit. It was power. It was worship. It was a crown. It was a target, and they were hunting me. Marcus offered help. I didn't trust him, but he slid an address across the table. Answers, he said. If you're brave enough. The house sat on the city's edge. From the street it looked abandoned. Inside, a trapdoor waited under a rotten rug. I took the stairs into a secret basement. Old papers, slept in crates, photographs, symbols carved into wood and bone. A meeting place for the Brotherhood. A church to a number. I found a worn notebook, a member's journal. I read, by a shaking bulb. Horrors uncoiled on the page. Sacrifices to honor. 1. Hunts to capture the bearer. Rules and the punishments for breaking them. Tortures codified as scripture. The last pages were worse. They believed one was part of a divine design. A Plan no one could understand. The bearer of number 1 would never outrun fate. Hunted, tortured. Dead in blood. No salvation. Only pain. Cold slid down my spine. I closed the book and tried to breathe. I was standing in the mouth of something vast and cruel. Footsteps scraped above. I killed the light. I hid the journal. When I opened the door to leave, they were already there. A ring of eyes. Predators in the half-dark, the Brotherhood's faithful. They dragged me deeper into the basement. A larger chamber waited, lit by old lamps. An altar sat in the center. Strange sigils crawled across its surface. Bodies lay on. The stone. Eyes frozen wide. Mouths locked mid-scream. Blood wound through grooves in the floor like red rivers. They began to chant. The air grew cold. One stepped forward with a broad knife. The blade flashed. "You found the truth," he said. "It changes nothing. 1 is a curse. You will not escape." He raised the knife. I had no way out. I shut my eyes and waited for steel. The doors exploded. Light burned my face. Shouts, gunfire, screams. Locals had tracked the Brotherhood's lair. They stormed the chamber with old rifles and new rage. Hands grabbed me and cut my ropes. We ran through smoke and bone dust and terror. Outside, the night smelled like iron and ash. Bodies sprawled in the dirt. The predators were dead or dying, but victory tasted bitter. Too many had fallen. "This is one battle," the leader told me. "The war will not end tonight." He was right. The Brotherhood was a hydra. Cut off one head and 2 more hissed in the dark. They took me to a safe house. I knew I couldn't stay. The hunters would come again. I had to keep moving. I had to break the curse of number 1 or die trying. Sleep finally took me. It did not keep me. The nightmare found me first. A field stretched forever. Mist pressed against my skin like cold hands. No sound, no birds, no wind. Only the hush right before a scream. A shape walked out of the fog. Tall, cloaked in black. Drank the light. His face was a smear. Only the eyes were clear. Deep, empty, hungry. I knew him. "Death, you are one," he said. His voice was ice and earth and endings. "You carry a fate. You cannot escape. You have slipped my fingers more than once. No one avoids me forever." I couldn't speak. I couldn't move. He lifted a thin, bony hand and touched my chest. Cold raced through me. My soul tugged loose like a thread pulled from a sweater. Felt myself drifting toward him. I fought. I failed. His strength was a tide, was a stone in its path. "You cannot run," he whispered. "You were chosen. I have come to finish it." The world washed white. I was fading. Fear swallowed what was left. Then light split the fog. Blinding, burning, angry. Death flinched. Something pulled me back. My soul slammed into my body like a door shutting in a storm. "You escaped this time," he hissed. Double quotes. "Remember. No one escapes forever. I will return for what is mine." The field peeled away. I woke with my heart clawing at my ribs. Sweat iced my skin. It was a dream. It didn't feel like one. Death knew my name. Death wanted his due. The rules were etched in bone. My fate felt sealed. I had to prepare. I had to face the Reaper and survive the impossible. How do you fight death? How do you slip the hand that closes around every throat? I had no answer, only the need to keep moving. The next day, the dread still crawled behind my eyes. There was only one thing left to do: learn more, dig deeper, find the truth about one and the Brotherhood. I returned to the hidden basement with help from locals who owed me a favor. The room was exactly as I'd left it after the raid. Dust, blood, silence. In a locked cabinet, I found another diary, this one older. Deserter's account. It told the same story, written in older ink. One was not random. One was power, and power demanded proof. Bearers were thrown into a gauntlet, trials meant to break the body, then the mind. Only those who endured were worthy. Rest were offerings. It also said the Brotherhood had lived for centuries. They wanted to control the gate they believed one could open, a doorway to another world. To spirits, to demons, to whatever answers the dark keeps. They killed to feed their rituals, and they were hunting me because I wore their key on my skin. Footsteps scraped again. Voices murmured at the top of the stairs. Hid the book and turned to run. Shadows filled the doorway. They surrounded me. They dragged me into a larger chamber. Another altar waited. New bodies, fresh blood. The chanting began again, low and venomous. You found the truth, their priest said. It will not save you. He raised his knife. Hopelessness poured through me like cold sand. Thunder cracked. Light detonated inside. The room. White figures roared out of the walls. Spirits, shackled, sobbing, furious, they fell upon the Brotherhood. Claws like glass, teeth like razors, men tore like paper. Blood sprayed the stone. Bones snapped like twigs. I could not look away. Those were the dead, the ones carved up on these altars, the ones the Brotherhood had fed to their god. A cold hand touched my shoulder. I turned. A ghost stared at me with eyes full of pain and fire. Run, he whispered. You cannot stay. Not here, not now. I ran. The screams followed me up the stairs and into the night. They still follow me when the wind is right. You cannot hide forever. Word of me spread anyway. It always does. The world convulsed. War bled across maps. Not just nations against nations. Groups against groups. Streets against streets. Power against the weak. Low numbers became nobles. They built new hierarchies on old bones. High numbers were hunted, killed to shuffle the deck and renumber. The world, blood ran in gutters. Death became ordinary. I moved through ruined cities, towers gutted, streets carpeted with bodies. Survivors ran or armed themselves, children without parents, women shaking, soldiers dying in doorways. Human cruelty became a constant drumbeat. I fell in with a small band protecting the corner of a dead city. They didn't know who I was. I didn't tell them. They fed me, gave me a blanket, told me how bad it had gotten. Worse. Every day. No end in sight. Night split. Open. Bombs. Tracers. Screams. The district was under attack. Another armed group wanted the block. I ran through alleys and over rubble. Explosions bloomed against the sky. I saw butchery I will never forget. Old men shot in doorways. Children hiding under dead mothers. Fire swallowing whole rooms while people beat at flames with bare hands. They caught me in the street. They recognized the mark on my arm. Number 1. Someone shouted. They rushed me. I fought, but numbers win. Wars. A blade punched into my shoulder. Pain burst white behind my eyes. I would not die there. I forced myself up. Blood soaked my shirt. Then another group swept in from the east. They fought the Brotherhood and anyone like them. They drove my attackers back and dragged me clear. Gratitude and exhaustion wrestled in my chest. This was not just about one. Not just about power. It was about survival. About protecting what scraps of humanity were left. The war did not stop. The world turned into a battlefield of despair. Factions multiplied. Each carved its law in the bleeding ground. The Brotherhood of I hunted one to control divine power. They believed one could open a gate. They would kill anyone to force it open. The Order of the Veil preached salvation through slaughter. They believed one was God's messenger. Kill the bearer, earn a blessing. They hunted, tortured, burned. They smiled while they did it. The Syndicate of Unity gathered the high-numbered, the outcasts and the hunted. They fought the hierarchy with bombs and fire. They protected their own with teeth. The Guild of the Free rose from the ashes. Rebels who believed in equality. They bled to shatter the number caste. No destiny by digits, they said. Freedom for all. Cities and countrysides became grids of war. Territory, checkpoints, traps, civilians. Chewed between gears. I kept running. Eyes were always on me. Couldn't trust anyone. Anyone could sell me for a lower number or a higher throne. In one city already. Half dead, I slipped through a shattered tower. Gunfire echoed from the street. The Order of the Veil clashed with the Syndicate of Unity. The fight was brutal. Loud, bright. Men dropped in showers of red. I needed to get clear. The roads were blocked. Cut through an abandoned block. Corridors stank of blood and rot. Bodies slumped everywhere. Headless, riddled, dismembered. I found a side exit and ran straight into a Brotherhood squad. He's one. Someone screamed. Take him. Panic kicked me in the ribs. I ran. Bullets hissed past my head. One nicked my side and burned like liquid fire. I threw myself into a narrow alley and pressed into the dark. Footsteps pounded past the mouth of the passage. Voices argued, faded. Held my breath until my lungs burned. They left, for now, temporary. Mercy is still mercy. I moved before the luck could change. I thought the world could not get worse. I was wrong. The sky blackened. Ships, the size of cities, slid out of the clouds. They swallowed the sun and dripped strange light. They were not ours. Creatures stepped out of them. Tall, blue-gray skin. Eyes like pits, silent, efficient, unsettling. Panic spread like wildfire. Some tried to fight. The creatures erased them. With a flick of a hand, people turned to ash. Mid-scream. Wind carried them away like dust. They were searching for something. For someone. From the way they moved, from the way they paused and scanned the air, I knew. They were looking for me. They seemed able to sense the numbers. When they found someone with a high number, they performed a ritual. Green light poured from their hands and wrapped the victim. A heartbeat later, the body collapsed into ash. I stayed low. I stayed quiet. Nightmare scenes slid by, charred remains. Pieces of people. No time to bury anyone. The creatures glided like ghosts and never spoke. No road was safe. Checkpoints turned to slag. Bridges to powder. I ran anyway. What else was there to do? On a ruined street, I saw a group sprint for a barricade. The creatures caught them. A woman begged. A child hid behind her knees. Green light flashed. They vanished into nothing. Hopelessness ate at my mind. Humans hunted me. Now something older hunted me too. Why me? Why one? Why had a number turned me into a target for Earth and whatever bled in from the stars? The answer hid in the arithmetic of the curse, not in the weight of number 1. I would find it if I lived long enough. The lights thickened. Everything went dim around their glare. Then the world disappeared in white. Light swallowed me. Weight fell away. I floated in a cold, endless place and felt peace. No fear, no pain, no hunger. Just the quiet after the scream. Through the brightness I saw a shape above me. A ship. Vast and patient. White radiance spread from its belly and painted the ruins below. Figures gathered around me. I could not move. Could not speak. I could only drift. Darkness closed like a curtain. I woke in a forest that smelled like rain. No ruins. No fire. No screams. Sunlight braided through leaves and lit a floor of flowers and grass. Birds sang. Wind whispered. The world exhaled. I stood and looked at my hand. The number was gone. No trace of number 1. No brand. No burn. A weight lifted from my ribs. I breathed like a living thing again. I wandered among trees that should not exist. Plants long extinct nodded in the breeze. Animals I knew only from history stalked the brush. Time was broken here. Space bent around it. Down a narrow path. A girl stood in a field of impossible flowers. Graceful. Still. Watching me with soft, knowing eyes. We didn't speak. We didn't need to. She carried no number either. We understood each other in the way survivors do. We learned this place slowly. We named nothing. We owned nothing. We lived with the green and the water and the sun. We cared for what Breathed around us. Each day was quiet. Each night was kinder than any I remembered. I don't know why we were brought here. I don't know who chose us. Maybe the ships, maybe the dead, maybe the Reaper himself. Tired of the hunt. What I do know is this: the fear is gone. The hunters are gone. The number is gone. We were forgiven our sins or forgotten by our pursuers. Either way, we were given a chance, a new beginning in a strange, beautiful world. And for the first time since the numbers appeared, I slept without seeing the Reaper's eyes in the dark.